The sky above Syraxis rarely showed its stars anymore. Smoke from the Dominion furnaces drifted across the atmosphere in thick sheets, muting the world's natural colors beneath a dull, metallic haze. Even from the hidden caverns of the Resistance, the rumble of orbital foundries vibrated through the stone, a constant reminder of the power crushing the planet. Tava Veln leaned over the communication panel, his trembling hands hovering above the cracked console. The device was older than he was, an outdated Kalari transmitter salvaged from a forgotten outpost. Its blue display flickered with failing life as it charged one final time. Behind him, the cavern hummed with quiet fear. Families huddled against the walls, whispering prayers or holding one another in exhausted silence. They had seen entire districts erased in a week. The Dominion's purge left no room for negotiation, dissent, or survival. Tava swallowed, feeling the weight of thousands as he pressed the final sequence. "This is Syraxis," he whispered, voice thin but steady. "We call for aid, from anyone who can hear us. Our people face total extermination. We beg for help. Please. Please, someone answer." The signal launched into the void as a narrow beam of encoded light, vanishing into the star-blurred haze above the cavern's ceiling. It was meant for the Kalari, gentle, diplomatic, harmless. A kind species known for bargaining peace where war seemed inevitable. They had helped worlds before. But Tava had no guarantee. The Kalari border was far. The transmitter was nearly useless. And the Dominion had begun targeting communication arrays directly. He exhaled and sat back. "If no one receives it," he murmured, "we're finished." A young rebel beside him adjusted a cracked visor. "Do you believe they'll come?" "I believe hope is better than surrender," Tava replied. "Even when it's foolish." Above the cavern, High Marshal Vorga Kesh observed Syraxis from his flagship, Obsidian Crown. A harsh grin stretched across his scarred face as he viewed satellite feeds of burning streets and retreating civilians. "The rebels still cling to fantasy," he said, folding his hands behind his back. "Let them. By dawn, fantasy ends." His adjutant bowed. "Shall we initiate Phase 7? "Proceed," Vorga said. "I want the southern hemisphere silenced before nightfall." The fleet descended. Across the galaxy, on the far side of the Orion Spur, a faint distress pulse slipped through the detection grid of Earth's deep interstellar listening array. Technician Mara Juno paused mid-sip of her coffee as her console chimed. The signal was weak, fragmented, desperate, but unmistakably authentic. She frowned. "This isn't on any expected frequency." She tapped the waveform, enlarging the audio. Static hissed, followed by Tava's shuddering voice. "We beg for help, someone answer." Mara froze, then routed the signal to Central Command. Within minutes, a meeting convened inside the United Nations Interstellar Council chamber. Representatives from every major human colony leaned forward as the transmission repeated across the room, each syllable a grim reminder of why Earth had built its fleet in the first place. Admiral Ryden Locke rose, adjusting his uniform. "The Dominion again," he said. "We've intercepted fragments of their operations before. Syraxis is well beyond their border lines, and far from any Allied support." A councilwoman narrowed her eyes. "The Kalari should have received this transmission, not us." "They didn't," Locke replied. "We did. And the Dominion intends to erase that world." Silence spread across the chamber. Humanity's reputation in the galaxy had shifted over the last century, not feared for conquest, but for intervention. Whenever genocide threatened a civilization, humans appeared, unpredictable and relentless. Some species viewed them as guardians. Others, as a warning. Locke pressed a palm to the holotable. A star map flared to life, marking Syraxis near the galactic fringe. Captain Aria Solis is the closest commander with the firepower necessary for a rescue operation. The Resolute is already within 2 jumps. The Council exchanged glances. Decisions like this often took days. Today, they reached one in seconds. "Send her," the chairwoman said. On the bridge of the UNS Resolute, Captain Aria Solis studied the incoming transmission with a clenched jaw. She replayed the Seresian plea twice, each time absorbing more of the quiet despair threading the message together. Her first officer, Lieutenant Hale, approached. Orders from Earth Command? Arya nodded. We're to mobilize immediately. Full combat deployment. Hale raised a brow. We don't know the enemy's strength. We know the intent, Arya said. Her voice remained calm, but her eyes held a sharp, determined fire. They're killing civilians. That's enough. The bridge crew straightened. No one questioned her. Arya's reputation was not born from brutality, but from precision, saving lives through decisive action. Her strategies had turned hopeless sieges into evacuations, crushed invasions before they escalated, and exposed tyrants who believed no one would challenge them. She tapped her command panel. Helm, prepare for FTL alignment. Engineering, ready the rail batteries and shield lattice. Marines to deployment stations. Yes, Captain, echoed across the bridge. Hale glanced toward her. This distress call wasn't meant for humans. Arya allowed a faint, grim smile. Then the Dominion's about to be surprised. The ship rumbled as power surged through its core. Luminescent patterns traced along the hull as energy conduits activated, preparing the vessel for long-range slip transit. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched in cold indifference. Do you think we can reach them in time? Hale asked quietly. We'll reach them, Arya said. What happens after depends on how hard the Dominion resists. She stepped forward, looking out into the endless dark. She imagined the Syraxians hiding underground, listening for footsteps that weren't theirs. She imagined the weight of waiting, of believing no one would answer. No one begs for help alone, she murmured. Not while humanity can hear them. FTL drive charged, Helm reported. Coordinates locked. Arya raised her hand. Initiate jump. A brilliant flash consumed the bridge as space folded around the Resolute. The stars twisted into streaks of light, then vanished entirely. The ship lunged forward into hyperslip, carving its way toward a world that had never expected rescue. Syraxis waited below a choking sky. The Dominion believed no one would come. They were wrong. Syraxis rotated quietly beneath the distant stars, unaware that the space around it was about to rupture. On the surface, smoke still clung to the horizon. Dominion patrols thundered through ruined streets, and drones scanned for any flicker of resistance. The rebels hiding in the underground caverns kept their lights dim, conserving what little energy they had left. Silence dominated everything. Tava stood near the cavern entrance, staring upward at the faint sliver of sky visible through layers of rock. His mind replayed the distress call again and again. He had expected nothing. Hope, in his experience, had always dissolved into disappointment. But still he watched, as if willing an answer into existence. Behind him, a young rebel approached with a cracked datapad. Tava, Dominion tanks are sweeping the south. They'll reach the outer tunnels by dusk. He nodded slowly. Prepare the defense teams. Delay them as long as possible. We won't last long. We need minutes, Tava said. Minutes matter. Before the rebel could argue, the cavern trembled so softly at first that most assumed it was another Dominion blast. Then the vibration deepened, rolling through the ground like a distant thunder. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The air itself felt charged. What was that? Someone whispered. Tava stepped out into the open. His eyes widened. The sky was splitting. Not tearing in the physical sense, no rip of atmosphere, no shockwave, but bending, warping, curling inward as if light itself had been hooked and yanked across the cosmos. A brilliant white arc carved through the void above Syraxis, stretching until it became a luminous ring. Then the ring widened. A ship emerged, sleek, dark, enormous. Its hull shimmered with lines of blue and gold as energy conduits cooled from the jump. Following it came 6 more vessels, each shaped like angular spears of metal and light. They moved with a precision Tava had never witnessed, as if guided by one collective mind. The rebels stared, stunned. Even the Dominion troops halted their patrols, momentarily forgetting their orders. Tava's heart hammered. It can't be. A second rebel whispered, those aren't Kalari ships. No, Tava breathed. They're human. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Arya Solis stood as the last ripples of hyperslip faded behind them. The ship's sensors lit up with planetary data. The Dominion's occupation was unmistakable energy signatures from artillery emplacements, orbital platforms, and large ground forces spread across the surface like a cancer. Hale scanned the readings with a grim expression. The Dominion is fully entrenched. Civilian zones are locked down. Multiple districts burning. Arya straightened her posture. Open a secure channel to any non-Dominion receiver on the planet. Yes, Captain. The comms officer routed the signal. A moment later, static filled the speakers, then a trembling voice broke through. This is Syraxis Resistance. Who is speaking? Arya replied, calm and clear. This is Captain Arya Solis of the United Nations Starfleet. We received your distress call. Silence, then a shaky exhale. We never expected, humans. We arrived because you needed help, Arya said. What is your current situation? Tava's voice steadied slightly, though the strain was still there. Dominion forces are sweeping every settlement. They intend to purge the population. We're hiding underground. We can't hold out much longer. You won't stand alone, Arya said. We're deploying forces immediately. Tava hesitated. Why risk yourselves for us? Arya looked at the planet through the viewport. Because someone asked. Far below, Dominion Commander Rovan Kesh listened to the same transmission from within a command bunker. His expression tightened. Humans, he muttered. Of all species to interfere. He activated a secure channel to High Marshal Vorga aboard the Obsidian Crown. Marshal, Rovan said, a human fleet has arrived. The silence on the other end lasted just long enough to reveal the Marshal's surprise. Impossible. Humanity has no interests here. They're responding to the rebels' distress signal. Vorga's disbelief shifted to irritation. Then we crush them. Humans rely on showmanship, nothing more. You underestimate them, Rovan warned. Their fleet is. I said crush them, Vorga snapped. Prepare countermeasures. The channel cut. Rovan inhaled slowly. This would not be simple. Above the planet, the Resolute deployed its first wave. Drop pods streaked through the atmosphere like silver meteors, leaving trails of blue ion burn behind them. The Dominion scrambled anti-air cannons, but the pods shifted trajectories mid-descent, weaving around the fire. Tava watched from the cavern entrance as the pods slammed into the ground in controlled impacts. Their shells auto-opened, releasing human marines in armored exosuits. The soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, sweeping through Dominion patrol zones. A marine approached Tava moments later, visor retracting to reveal determined brown eyes. Syraxis Resistance. Tava nodded, speechless. I'm Sergeant Lena Ward, she said. We're here to evacuate civilians and neutralize Dominion threats. We need to coordinate with your command structure. Tava blinked. You came this far, for us? Yes, she said. Let's move. The simplicity of the answer struck him harder than any speech could have. On the Resolute, Hale monitored tactical updates. Ground teams reaching rebel positions. Civilians secured. Dominion lines collapsing in several sectors. Arya nodded. Continue pushing corridors through their perimeter. We're not giving them time to reorganize. A sudden alarm pulsed across the bridge. The Dominion fleet was mobilizing from the far side of the planet. Multiple warships incoming, Hale said. Arya stepped forward, eyes narrowing. Battle stations. The crew responded instantly. Shield lattices activated. Rail batteries charged. Drone swarms deployed from launch bays, drifting into formation like a cloud of metallic stars. The Dominion vessels broke through the clouded horizon, sleek, angular ships painted in obsidian hues. Their weapons glowed crimson. Arya spoke into the fleet-wide channel. This is Captain Solis. The Dominion intends to escalate. Hold formation and protect the planet. We'll show them humanity doesn't arrive lightly. On Syraxis, Tava led Ward through winding tunnels crowded with frightened families. The moment they saw the humans, whispers spread, confusion, disbelief, hope. Ward reassured them with quick words and steady movements. Tava stopped near the central chamber. Your captain, She came without hesitation. Ward nodded. Most species fear crossing the Dominion. Humans don't. Why? Ward's reply was quiet. Because we were once like you. Outmatched. Ignored. Alone. We decided no one else would feel that way while we could prevent it. Tava felt a weight shift inside him, not relief exactly, but something close. Outside, thunder shook the earth as the first volleys of battle ignited across the sky. The war for Syraxis had begun. The first Dominion barrage struck the Resolute's shields with a burst of white light that rippled across the hull. Arya braced herself as the ship trembled, the bridge bathing in warning indicators. Outside the forward viewport, enemy cruisers swarmed like dark blades, engines flaring in synchronized formation. Hale studied the tactical map. 3 capital ships approaching from Vector 9. 2 more flank from the east. Fighter wings closing fast. Arya kept her tone measured. Deploy drone swarms Gamma and Delta. Prioritize defensive screens. Long-range batteries target the cruisers. Confirmed. The drones shot forward hundreds of compact, steel-gray constructs fanning out in fluid arcs. Their engines produced faint blue halos as they formed a defensive net around the fleet. The Dominion responded with interceptors launching in tight spirals, cannons firing streams of violet plasma. The first clash was instantaneous. Plasma streaks seared through the dark, but the drones adapted, weaving between volleys and retaliating with micromissiles that sparked against Dominion hulls. One interceptor spiraled out of control, flames trailing behind it as it plunged toward the atmosphere. Arya watched the unfolding chaos with unwavering calm. Their formation is rigid, she said. Exploit that. Shift our forward batteries 5 degrees down. Channel fire through their center point. Hale nodded. Recalibrating. The Resolute's rail cannons hummed before releasing a thunderous blast of kinetic energy. The projectile tore through the void like a streak of molten silver and punched directly into the lead Dominion cruiser. Metal erupted outward in a bloom of shrapnel as the ship listed to one side, engines flickering. The Dominion commander on that vessel tried to steady the ship. Arya didn't give him the chance. Fire again. The second rail strike split the cruiser in half. Both fragments drifted downward, swallowed by Syraxis' clouded atmosphere. Below, on the planet's surface, the sky flashed in pulses of blue and purple. Tava guided Ward through the outer caverns as tremors rippled through the ground, vibrations of the war raging above. Ward paused, glancing upward as a distant explosion rumbled. That was a capital ship. Your skies just got a little safer. Tava's brow furrowed. Humans destroy warships as if they're targets in a drill. Ward gave a faint, dry laugh. That's only the first wave. The rebels behind them exchanged looks, fear, awe, and something warmer. Hope. A young Ceresian child tugged at Ward's armor. Are you really here to help us? Ward knelt. Yes. And we're not leaving until you're safe. The boy nodded solemnly before running back to his mother. Tava caught the moment with a heavy breath. If we survive this, our world will remember you. Ward rose. Focus on surviving first. High Marshal Vorga observed the battle from the bridge of the Obsidian Crown, eyes narrowed. The destruction of his cruiser irritated him, but he refused to show the emotion. Humans fight aggressively, his adjutant said. Their drones are overwhelming our wings. I can see that, Vorga replied. Order the fleet to tighten formation. Push their ships into a choke point. The adjutant hesitated. Marshal, humanity thrives in close-range combat. Vorga's glare cut through him. Do as I command. The fleet adjusted, converging into a narrowing corridor meant to trap the Resolute and its escorts. Arya recognized the maneuver instantly. Hale frowned. They're trying to force us into their kill zone. Yes, Arya said. And they believe we'll either retreat or charge straight through. What's the play? Arya's gaze hardened. Neither. Prepare for hyperslip drift. Hale stared. We've never executed it in live combat. There's a first time, Arya said. Feed the coordinates to engineering. The hyperslip drift wasn't a jump. It was a controlled microtear in space, brief, unstable, risky. But if timed perfectly, the ship could reposition behind enemy lines faster than scanners could track. Engineering reports coils charged, Hale said. Arya raised her voice. All hands brace. A pulse of white energy washed over the bridge. The stars warped, bending like reflections in a disturbed pool. The Resolute flickered, vanishing from its previous coordinates, and reappeared behind the Dominion formation. Dominion ships scrambled to adjust. Arya didn't wait. Open fire. The Resolute's rear batteries unleashed a storm of artillery. Rail slugs pierced engines. Missiles burst across hull plating. One Dominion warship erupted into a flaming cloud. Another lost its stabilizers and drifted helplessly. Hale exhaled, adrenaline sharp in his voice. Hyperslip drift successful. Arya allowed herself a single nod. Maintain the pressure. On the ground, rebel communications crackled with updates. Tava listened as a scout reported, Dominion squads retreating from the east sector. They're redirecting toward the central district. Ward's visor reflected the scrolling tactical map. They'll try to seize high ground. We need to intercept. Tava looked at his fighters. Exhaustion lined their expressions, but determination replaced despair. We'll move. Lead the way. Ward signaled her team. Marines, form on me. They emerged from the caverns into open terrain. Blackened structures cast long shadows across the ruins. Smoke drifted from collapsed towers. The crack of weapons echoed in the distance as Dominion infantry engaged with rebel scouts. Ward advanced tactically, her exosuit absorbing debris as she dashed behind a broken transport. Eyes up, she said. Ground forces inbound. Domino pattern footfalls announced Dominion mechs approaching. Each machine stood 2 stories tall, armored in obsidian plating with red sensor arrays scanning the street. Tava whispered, "We have nothing that can pierce those." Ward raised a hand. "We do." A Marine on a rooftop deployed a shoulder-mounted launcher. With a low hum, it fired a guided charge that curved midair before striking the mecha's torso. The explosion knocked the machine backward, its limbs buckling. Another mech advanced, firing streams of plasma. Ward grabbed Tava and pulled him behind a pillar. The heat grazed her armor. "You all right?" she asked. "Yes," he said breathlessly. "How do you fight like this?" "Training," she answered. "And motivation." The second mech fell as 3 Marines coordinated blasts to its joints. The rebels watched in stunned silence as the humans dismantled machines that had terrorized Syraxis for years. Ward turned to Tava. "Your people hold this ground. We'll push to the next sector." He nodded. "We'll match your pace." In orbit, Vorga's patience cracked. His fleet was unraveling. The Resolute and its escorts moved like predators, slipping through openings and shredding formations. "Marshal," the adjutant said, voice thin, "we've lost 6 cruisers and 2 carriers. The humans are." "Silence," Vorga growled. He clenched the railing. "Prepare the obsidian cannon. Aim for the planet." The adjutant froze. "Marshal, firing on the surface will kill thousands of your prisoners." "They're already lost," Vorga said coldly. "If humanity wants Syraxis, they can inherit its ashes." On the Resolute, Hale's console beeped sharply. "Captain, energy spike from the Crown. They're preparing an orbital strike." Arya's expression hardened. "Not while we still draw breath." She stepped forward, voice ringing across the bridge. "Target the obsidian crown. All batteries, fire." The Resolute surged forward as its artillery thundered through the void. Rail slugs streaked across space, carving glowing arcs that slammed into the obsidian crown's armored hull. Each impact burst into showers of molten fragments that drifted away like sparks torn from a dying forge. Hale tracked the readings. Direct hits across their upper decks. Their shield lattice is destabilizing. Arya remained poised, her eyes fixed on the enemy dreadnought. The Crown dwarfed every Dominion vessel in range, a hulking fortress wrapped in obsidian plating with engines burning in crimson. It was built to intimidate entire systems, but even giants cracked under pressure. "Continue pressure," Arya instructed. "Don't let them charge that cannon again." The dreadnought retaliated with a broadside volley. Pulses of concentrated energy streaked toward the Resolute. The ship jolted as the first blast struck the shields, rattling the bridge. Shields at 70%, Hale reported. Arya leaned forward. Bring us lower. Slip beneath their firing arc. The helm officer nodded and guided the ship on a downward trajectory. Engines roared, pushing the Resolute into a tight curve as Dominion fire passed overhead. On the ground, Ward and Tava advanced through the war-torn district as Dominion forces retreated toward backup positions. Human Marines cleared paths with coordinated precision while rebels supported them in small clusters, covering angles and helping injured civilians escape rubble. Ward's communicator buzzed. Sergeant, this is Alpha Team. The Dominion command signal is weakening. Something's happening in orbit. She looked upward through a shattered skylight. Between clouds of smoke, she glimpsed faint flashes, arcs of blue and red streaking across the sky. Captain Solis is engaging their flagship, Ward said. We need to secure these civilians before that battle escalates. Tava guided a group of families toward the extraction corridor. A child paused beside Ward, staring up at the drifting colors. Is that your ship fighting? Yes, Ward said softly. Will it win? She adjusted her helmet. It has to. High Marshal Vorga stood on the bridge of the Obsidian Crown, his hands gripping the railing as warnings flooded the displays. Sparks showered from a cracked console after another rail slug slammed into the upper hull. Marshal, the adjutant said, their accuracy is increasing. We can't stabilize our shields. Reroute power, Vorga snapped. We've rerouted everything we can, the adjutant replied, voice shaking. The humans are predicting our maneuvers. Vorga shot him a glare. Then change them. Shift to randomization pattern. A violent explosion cut him off. The ship lurched as interior bulkheads ruptured and emergency seals slammed into place. A junior officer shouted, Deck 19 compromise. Fires spreading. Vorga forced himself upright. Prepare the obsidian cannon again. The adjutant hesitated. Sir, another shot risks destabilizing the core. Do it, Vorga growled. If Syraxis cannot be ours, it will belong to no one. On the Resolute, Hale's console lit red. Captain, new spike in energy buildup. He's charging the cannon again. Arya exhaled slowly. He's willing to destroy the planet to spite us. She weighed the options. A direct hit from the cannon would tear through their shields. A delayed response would doom the surface. The choice was immediate. Prepare the strike package, she said. Target their barrel array and power conduits. Hale blinked. If our volley hits their conduits mid-charge. Yes, Arya said. The backlash should overload their systems. It's the only way to prevent the shot. Understood. She addressed the crew with clarity and resolve. This is the final push. Fire on my mark. The battery teams locked onto the dreadnought's underside where glowing fissures pulsed with unstable energy. Arya lifted her hand. Mark. The Resolute released a storm. Rail cannons roared. Guided missiles streaked forward. Drone swarms folded into a dense spear and tore through the enemy's outer plating. Combined, the assault struck the dreadnought's vulnerable zone like a hammer against brittle glass. A blinding flash erupted as the obsidian cannon's energy overloaded. Shockwaves rippled across the dreadnought's hull, splitting armor plates and triggering cascading internal detonations. Hale shielded his eyes. Direct hit. Their power grid is collapsing. The obsidian crown shuddered violently as fire burst from its central spine. Its engines flared, sputtered, then died. Arya watched the dreadnought drift, crippled. Target their command bridge. End this. On Syraxis, Ward and Tava heard the distant thunder of the explosion above. The ground trembled as debris fell through the atmosphere, streaks of fire crossing the sky. Tava whispered, something massive just broke apart. Ward tapped her visor link. Alpha, report. A voice answered with barely contained awe. Sergeant, the crown's been neutralized. The humans hit it dead center. Cheers erupted from the rebels around them. Families held each other as tears streamed down their faces. For the first time in years, hope didn't feel like a fragile illusion. Ward allowed herself a brief smile. Then the Dominion just lost their monster. The final volley came quickly. The Resolute's precision strike slammed into the Obsidian Crown's command bridge. Armor shattered. Windows burst outward. The dreadnought tilted as its control systems collapsed. Inside, the adjutant stumbled to the marshal. "We've lost Helm. All command functions gone." Vorga stared at the burning data screens, realization settling over him like cold metal. "Humans," he muttered. "You think compassion makes you weak. But it's your weapon." The floor buckled as another explosion tore through the bridge. He gripped a railing, but flames surged across the ceiling. Shards of metal rained down. His world collapsed in fire. The dreadnought cracked apart. On the Resolute, silence filled the bridge as the last explosion faded. The Dominion ships that remained began to retreat, scattering into the darkness without formation or command. Hale exhaled. "Enemy flagship destroyed. Their fleet is withdrawing." Arya closed her eyes for a moment, absorbing the weight of the moment. "Signal all units. Maintain rescue operations. Provide support to ground teams." "Yes, Captain." The tension in the room eased, replaced by a subdued, exhausted relief. They had stopped an orbital genocide. They had given Syraxis a chance to rebuild. Hours later, Arya descended to the surface with a small delegation. Smoke still rose from distant ruins, but the air felt different, lighter somehow. As she walked through the cleared district, children peeked from behind rubble. Rebels stood in clusters, talking in quiet, hopeful tones. Tava approached her, stepping through the crowd with measured movements.